party people, greetings and grace to you. Welcome to my timeline and a little episode I'm calling Facts Not Hype with me, Letitia Grady, your candidate for North Carolina House of Representatives. And Facts and Not Hype is all about giving you all of the facts, not some of the facts, not mischaracterizations of my political opponent, not omissions of facts, but all of the facts around very important issues that are affecting my district and all of North Carolina for that matter, and to give you my take on it, give you my hot take on it and my policy position and what I plan to do. If you haven't heard of me, again, my name is Letitia Grady. I'm running for North Carolina House of Representative District 18 against the illustrious Deb Butler, the one that will not yield. I'm running against her, and I'm running against her. Help me, David, that Goliath. Okay. So my platform basically is I'm running to bring you safer streets, lower costs, and better schools. And all of that is downstream from me and my passion to protect your faith, to protect your freedom, to protect your opportunity, and again, your safety. Because without safety, there's no freedom to protect. There's no opportunity to be had. There's no wealth to build or no legacy to leave, So we have to keep our streets safe. And there's a lot of reason why that issue is important to me, and that you'll find in other episodes of my Facts Not Hype. But tonight we're talking about the PFAS issue, okay? The water quality issue. And all of the brouhaha that's been around it forever, amen, here. And what's actually been done, and basically applying the facts to the hype, the hyperbole, the mischaracterizations, the omissions of facts around that issue, okay? So let's get right into it. I'm going to be reading from my notes that I've taken, so you're going to see me do this quite a bit. And and then we're also going to get into some X posts that have some context to help you understand my rationale. Speaking of Facts Not Hype, again, this is going to be a series that I'm going to just be rolling out so that voters can have a record of what it is that I personally believe about these particular issues that I'm running on, and then some other issues that are near and dear to my heart as well, like healthcare. Okay, wait till I get to that one, honey. Specifically women's healthcare and menopause healthcare. And speaking of menopause, honey, my aging eyes, let me put my glasses on. So can't wait to get with you to share my insights on that and some ideas for improvements for that as well. Okay, so let's get on into it. The PFAS issue. What is that issue? Basically, the PFAS issue is the problem with what they're calling forever chemicals. PFAS is pretty much a family of particular chemicals that are the byproduct of certain manufacturing processes, right? And there's about 3 of them, and the one that is most specific to New Hanover County and our water supply, or our region, because it's really affecting New Hanover, Brunswick, Cumberland, I want to say Bladen as well. But the chemical byproduct that is affecting our water supply is Gen X, right? And so Gen X is connected to a company called Chemours, okay, who has a plant in Fayetteville, North Carolina. And for years, okay, I've learned that they have been polluting up the joint, okay? Been polluting our water supply, and guess what? They didn't tell us nothing, okay? Imagine that. So, fast forward, somehow we the people found out, and we said, tis, you guys are going to have to pay, right? And but once, in the meantime, because of the pollution, once we found out, the municipalities, the counties had to mitigate that, and so they had to put in certain filtrations to begin to filter out these chemicals as best as possible. And again, they call them forever chemicals because they are hard to break down, in the natural environment and obviously in the human body. And so they, again, are products of the various chemical process or chemical manufacturing process, but it just was nasty work that the people down to the Chemours did not let the people know what they were doing. And again, go figure. So as a result of the municipalities and so on and so forth trying to mitigate this thing, the consequence of that was we the people looked at our water bill and saw the rate going up, right? To the tune, I'm told, that New Hanover County's bills went up like 10%, and Brunswick as high as like 40%, right? Due to us having to foot the bill to clean these chemicals out the water. And so we the people said, no ma'am, we're tired of this. And we said, we got to get the legislature on the line. The legislature have to do something about this. So somebody hit, Representative Davis's phone, I guess, or word got back to the legislature, okay? And Mr. Ted Davis began to lead the charge. And this actually started way back in 2022, by the way, okay? And we're going to get into this as we're going to, as I mentioned here, this thing's got my nerve. As I mentioned, applying the facts to the hype, okay? So Mr. Davis attempted this back in 2022, and he actually ended up becoming successful in 2025, May of 2025, where he overwhelmingly got support for this bill, and it passed like 100-3 or something like that, bipartisan, and now it's sitting over in the Senate, okay? I'm just a bill, yeah, I'm only a bill, and I'm sitting here on Carolina Hill right now, right? So that's what's happening right now. It's stalled over there, okay? And put a bookmark there, because I know what you're thinking. Okay, these are all Republicans. What's going on with the infighting and this and that and the third? Put a bookmark there. All right. So it's sitting over there on Capitol Hill, and that's why you need to send me and my man Dane Scalise for some fresh energy so that we can resuscitate and revive that thing and move it forward, right? Because it's very important to me that bill passed and this water is clean, because I had brain surgery in 2018, and I have lost my ability to taste. I cannot taste. My taste has been compromised, and I cannot smell a thing, right? So I know that the forever chemicals is odorless and all of that, but there could be other impurities or anything in the water supply that I can't taste, right? So I need the water to be clean. And plus my little fro here, I call her Freddie, okay, my hair, she must. We can't have hard water. we need the best water supply, not only for myself in the community, but for my hair, okay, for my kinky curly hair. Lest I digress. Okay, so it's over there sitting on Capitol Hill, okay, or sitting on North Carolina Hill, and so that's one fact, okay, that applies to the situation. So, but we should how about this? I'm going to now go to, now that you know that, let's now go to what was said on X, okay, a little bit, that reveals all of the hyperbole. And I know that the source of this post that I'm about to read is, in alignment with the thinking of my opponent, right? They're kind of in the same political camp, if you will. And so I want to address these things. Now, I'm minding my business, and I'm on X the other day, and I come across this post. It says, despite a decade of broad, and the post is from Carolina Forward, okay? I come across this post from Carolina Forward, okay? I'm not sure if this is a male or a female, all right? So I might say she, because I'm just, I'm already in the female thought process, so don't be offended if you are male. I'm going to say person if I can remember. All right, but anyway, Carolina Forward posted this a couple of days ago. How long ago was this? They posted it on May 17th, all right? So May 17th, this comes in my timeline. Despite a decade of broad and bipartisan support, Wilmington and the Cape Fear region have almost completely failed. Now, pay attention, almost completely failed to get an action taken on PFAS in the water supply. Right now, today, the state of North Carolina still enforces no limit on how much toxic PFAS chemicals polluters can dump in the water. And this fact is even crazier than it sounds. Why? Because Wilmington and New Hanover County have powerful representatives in the North Carolina state legislature. Senator Michael Lee, who represents New Hanover County, is the Republican majority leader who is rumored to be jostling to succeed Phil Berger as Senate President Pro Tem. In other words, Lee is already one of the most powerful politicians in Raleigh today and could become even more so. Representative Ted Davis, who is actually retiring, he also represents much of New Hanover County and is a very senior member of the State House. Yet, these men have supported yet neither men have supported, much less secured, any legal limits on PFAS whatsoever in their years in the legislature. The reason, and this is what they said, because the North Carolina Chamber of Commerce opposes any such limits on polluters, and the chamber is one of both men's biggest donors, okay, campaign, contributors. And then they have this little caveat note, PS here. By the way, under the Biden-Harris administration, the EPA introduced the very first legally enforceable limits on PFAS, but under Trump's administration, the EPA rolled back most of those limits in March of 2025, right after assuming power. Now, we must pay attention to the wording here. Political manipulators and people seeking to poison the well of public opinion about their opponent are very, savvy and in their words, so as to avoid being accused of slander and sued. All right, but I pick up on these things. Okay, first of all, he said. The person who Carolina Forward said, right, in this post, the first thing that caught my eye was have almost completely failed to get any action taken on PFAS in their water supply, okay? Almost completely failed, which suggests that something did happen and that they are omitting something, but at the same time, they are covering their bases such that they cannot be accused of slander or misinformation. All right, that was the first thing. Then the other thing that stuck out to me was because the chamber opposes any such limits on pollution. That was one thing, but no, that's not what stuck out. Okay, now this is a blatant lie. Yet neither men have supported, much less secured, any legal limits on PFAS whatsoever in the years in the legislature. Now, again, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to treat them the way that I would want to be treated and be given the benefit of the doubt. But I'm going to assume that, they forgot, or they didn't get the memo, or, they're unaware of what actually happened. But put a bookmark here on that post. But this is Carolina Forward's first post. And in response to that, this is what I said, okay? I said, mischaracterizing your opponent's position and goodwill to poison the well of public opinion because you have no better ideas to run on is some nasty work. Such folks will reap what they sow by putting that sort of energy out, right? I said, that's not my style. And as your next House of Representatives, District 18, I will be a problem solver, right? And here are 3 things I aim to deliver my district to keep advancing the ball on what Representative Ted Davis accomplished on the PFAS contamination issue. And so again, just reiterating, I'm not reinventing the wheel here. Basically, pick up and move that ball forward to ensure that Chemours actually pays, okay? To do what the bill that Ted put forth requires them to do, which is to make them pay, right? Then if that still remains over in the Senate and it fails to move, then I would seek to collaborate with Democrats and Republicans. Dane Scalise, if he makes it, if I make it, right? To just reintroduce it in the next session, okay? Then to close the loophole, because Mr. Representative Davis's legislation leaves a little there's a loophole there, because it relies on the EPA to do whatever it does, right? Those contamination limits. It relies on the EPA, right? And so I'm saying, and as did Senator Lee said in his legislation, his companion legislation, was that let North Carolina set their own limits. Why do we need to be tethered to what the EPA does in Washington? And why do we need to be at the mercy of any administration, right? Period. So just basically make North Carolina's clean water protections independent of whatever happens in Washington. Basically set our own rules. So those would be three things that I would seek to do as a new legislature, right? Again, first seeking to persuade my Senate colleagues to move that bill forward, right? And that requires what? It requires you not being adversarial and, fighting and, having a I will not yield spirit. You have to actually want to solve the problem and not, score points or impress your political activist, echo chamber or tribe, right? I'm not on that type of time. Republican or Democrat, who are the solution people? That's who I want to be around. That's what I want to do. So that's that on that, okay? So that's what I said, and in response to that, then the Carolina Forward came back and they decided to mention me, okay? Something I said in that space triggered them. And I'm suspecting that, my solutions pretty much, maybe challenges their narrative, right? For whatever reason, something triggered them to the point that on May 20th, this is what they posted mentioning me. This Republican candidate, okay, they came for me, okay? They wanted to squabble up with me. They were doing a little thumb thugging, okay? So they came for me. They said, this Republican candidate for House District 18 in Wilmington says her standard is results, not rhetoric, facts, not hype. And so they said, okay, then, let's go with that. Well, I put the okay then. Okay, because I'm going to zhuzh it up, right? Because I got to, entertain you. So anyway, but that's what they said, right? She said her standard is results, not rhetoric, facts, not hype. Yeah, that's kind of a tag of mine, right? And so the person said, well, let's go with that then. Representative Davis has been in office for 14 years. He's a senior member of the majority party of the North Carolina House. Removing PFAS and making Chemours pay has been what he's told the Wilmington residents that entire time. And what results has he accomplished? Has the PFAS been removed yet? Has Chemours paid? Interestingly, neither Grady, that's me, okay, nor John Hennett want to mention Michael Lee, Wilmington State Senator, who is one of the most powerful members in the entire legislature. What has he accomplished? Okay, I mean, she's coming with it, or they're coming with it. Then they said the answer, of course, that they've done nothing whatsoever on PFAS, despite their party having complete control of the North Carolina Senate. What's more likely? Rubs their chin here, the chin emoji. What's more likely? Both Representative Davis and Lee would love to tackle the PFAS issue, but just don't have the time. They ain't gotten around to it. they'll get to it in another decade. Okay, there's a little sarcasm there, right? Or is it more likely that Davis and Lee are basically lying to the voters about this because they can get campaign cash? No, I'm sorry, because they get campaign cash from the North Carolina Chamber and they don't actually care to solve the PFAS issue. So in other words, they're throwing a little shade and casting aspersions on the motivations of these politicians, which I do understand. I mean, politicians do that all the time. They do the political theater. They do the gamesmanship. Matter of fact, we're seeing that kind of in the Senate right now around the Save America Act and what John Thune is doing, you know, kind of hiding behind, procedures or doing a little 1-2 with a vanity vote, right? Like you're gonna move it forward, but you really ain't, you know, all of that sort of thing. I get it. I'm not mad at that particular assessment or being critical in that way. You know, I'm with you, but. My point here, though, in Facts Not Hype, is before we make that conclusion, let's check out the facts, okay? I'm fine with everything that Carolina Ford says if it's true. Hence, Facts Not Hype. Now, let's go and look at the facts, okay? Let's get into the facts of what's actually true. Now, we heard what Carolina Ford said. We're up to speed on that. They are asserting that Lee and Davis did nothing whatsoever to advance the issue. That's one thing. And they are suggesting that they are being disingenuous in even trying in the things that they have attempted to do. Right? Basically, they're lying to voters about this because they got campaign cash from the chamber. Again, I'm about Facts Not Hype. I had to do some research to verify this. And here is what I learned. Here are the facts. Number one, Carolina Ford got 4 things right. Number one was North Carolina has no PFAS discharge limits to date. That's a fact. Chemours hasn't paid ratepayers back. We the people haven't paid us back yet. That's a fact. The North Carolina Chamber has actively lobbied against these bills. Another fact. And this has gone on for quite too long. Okay? I would also say that is a fact and would agree. These 4 things I'm in alignment with Carolina Ford on. However, I can't dispute what they're saying. Those things are right. However, they conveniently left out some things that the voters of District 18 need to know. And number one, the first thing that they need to know relative to they have done nothing whatsoever to advance the issue, that's not correct. May 2025, Representative Davis passed HB 569 through the House. Again, overwhelming majority. I think I mentioned that earlier, 104-3. What was the subject of the legislation? Basically, it's a liability and accountability bill for this company, Chemours, right? That makes them what? Pay, not the ratepayers, right? But again, as I said, that bill is sitting over on North Carolina Hill in the Senate, all right? Second thing that is true that was omitted from this diatribe of the Carolina, I'm not going to call it a diatribe, they're concerns, okay? They're very legitimate concerns. Was Senator Lee filed Senate Bill 666 with 56, basically allotting $56 million for state water standards and discharge limits. Okay, something that she said was not even on their radar to do. That's not accurate according to the public record, all right, of SB 666 that's filed, where $56 million has been set aside, would be set aside for state water standards and discharge limits, independent of what the federal EPA does, right? Which brings me to the next thing, which is what I had mentioned in my original post as, a potential solution. I'm just again, I'm not reinventing the wheel. I'm just piggybacking off of my Republican colleagues who are already, have the framework here. It's just about moving it forward and getting in there and figuring out why it's not moving, and then being a persuader, an influencer, a positive, a presence, and if you will, that's what I'm thinking that I will bring to the table is an ability, maybe, to disarm and be a voice of reason, and to encourage us to become one band, one sound around these very important issues. And when I say one band, one sound, I think Democrats want clean water as well. This was very much a bipartisan piece of legislation here. So Mr. Lee came in and filled that gap that was left in Mr. Davis's House bill that passed. And I think, what a solution could look like if I am elected, and if my, colleague Dane Scalise is also elected, that we could work together to, and again, work together to lobby Mr. Lee to, revive his SB 666 to close that loophole where North Carolina will set its own rules about discharge limits. And we don't have to worry about it. Again, other states are doing it. And for North Carolina forward not to know that as a possible solution, or I don't know, like why does it have to be tied to to what the Biden administration does, or any administration does? We can just do it right here. The question is what's going on and why, and that would be something that I would be wanting to find out. So both bills had bipartisan support and are sitting in the Senate again, waiting for revival, waiting to be revived. All of this is public record. Again, did North Carolina forward miss the memo? Were they not aware that these things were done, right? And then finally, this whole issue or suggestion that they're being paid off and why they're not doing anything, right? I understand, but is that the fact? If the chamber is a donor to David and Lee, and I'm going to lean on the side and say that they are, I'm going to say that that's more than likely a fact, then Davis is actually on record several times acknowledging their opposition to what he was trying to accomplish. Okay, I think there was a Small Business Alliance, right, which is also a conservative small government group, supported Ted Davis's bill going against the chamber as well. So it was not only Ted Davis going against the chamber, who was an ally of his. This other business group here in the city was also supporting the bill, or in the state, was also supporting the bill, and even said to the chamber, hey, you guys are on the wrong side here. Get on board. Okay? So if Ted Davis was, getting greased by the chamber, he certainly did not do them a solid on this one, right? It sounds to me like that's not lying to the voters. That sounds like, he was disagreeing with a powerful ally to the benefit of the constituents. He was putting the health of the constituents and North Carolinians first. And consequently, he got the bill across. But also, he has been trying to do this since 2022. This is all public record. So this narrative that they did nothing it's not accurate. And so the $1 million question is, why are you narrating it in that way if you want to actually solve the problem? You see? And that is why you need to send me to Raleigh, right? That's why you need to send me to Raleigh, because I don't play those types of games. I'm interested in what is actually true, not what I prefer to be true, and not what my political party, not what my family, not what my friends, my sorority, No, what is true? I'm just going to pivot over to where the truth is. And I really wish the Democrats were telling more truth so I could align with them on something. I keep looking, and they keep showing me that they are motivated by something that is not American loving. Okay, it's very anti-American. this current Democratic Party. I remember a time when there were conservative Democrats long ago. Lest I digress and go down that rabbit hole. But so what do I think? Do I think that these bills need to be revived ASAP? I mean, obviously, you've heard me here. Absolutely. And do I think voters need to know where the bottleneck is? Yes. And guess where the bottleneck is? It's lying on my side, right? It's lying in my camp, okay? And that is something, again, right now above my pay grade to try to understand. Like I said, I know that there's been some, particularly around the budget, which is going to be my next Facts Not Hype. Because I got so many Facts Not Hype. I want to talk about the budget. I want to talk about healthcare. I want to talk about public safety, right? Like all of these things are in my wheelhouse. I want to talk about education, right? Like, so stay tuned to my videos, my X page, to my IG, to hear what I'm thinking here. Then I'll always go to electletitiagrady.com, and you can go to my policy page and you'll see some deep dives, right? Of just like all of my legislative type brainstorms, like things that will be, kind of my sandbox, right? And things that I would like to collaborate with on, collaborate with others on, because I love to collaborate. I like to solve problems. It's, I come from, again, this fintech background. I have entrepreneurial nature myself. I was a startup founder in Atlanta. Pull me to the side and we can talk about some of those things. All right, but anyway, so all of that, is happening on my side. So I'm not going to, act like it's not and try to cape for my people when I can't cape for my people, okay? I'm gonna stand by you when you're right. But I'm with you when you're right, but I'm not with you when you're wrong. And right now, the facts are telling me this. The record is out here. All right, so again, what will be my commitment to District 18? I will work with any colleague, Republican or Democrat, to get HB 569 through the Senate, okay? To revive Lee's discharge limits bill and to make North Carolina basically their clean water protections independent of whatever happens in Washington. Because our water, again, should not depend on what's happening in Washington. I'm sounding like a broken record here, but hey, people are constantly repeating lies. Well, I'm going to repeat the truth, and I'm going to repeat my desires and my aspirations here, okay? What else am I going to do? I'm going to be honest and truthful and collaborative, right? And the reason that I pause there is because there's a myriad of other things that I want to do. But the foundation of my campaign and who I am as a person is my relationship with Jesus Christ. And so you as a constituent are a beneficiary of my relationship with Christ. My biggest asset that I'm offering to you is my relationship with Christ, right? Because he sees me when no one else is looking. All right? And so I'm deathly afraid of, offending him. And offending him would be offending my constituents and him entrusting me with your confidence in me as your representative, right? So I'm not going to go more than that. But so those are the things that I would do. And then the last thing that I basically want to say kind of on this is omitting facts to score political points is exactly what voters are sick of, okay? So you need to be aware of candidates and current elected officials or representatives who have more adversarial accusations than common sense solutions. Period. You need to be aware of that. Basically, this is the kind of thinking and effort to problem solving you will get from me as your next representative. This approach produces results, not partisan rhetoric to impress my echo chamber. Okay? Because it's based on all facts, even facts not 100% favorable to my side of the aisle. This is a complex environmental problem. Carolina Forward and other adversarial type activists, activist critics, make it sound like this can be solved within a week, right? But the facts are it takes time. And consider what GOP lawmakers are up against, state and locally and federally as well. Right now, what we're up against, in addition to, particularly on this issue though, in addition to the obstacles that come with kind of threading the needle between, industry and employers, right, who are job providers. Chemours provide like 500 jobs, have like 500 employees between, employees and contractors there in the Fayetteville area, right? So you're trying to thread that needle, but also the needle with the constituents to solve this problem. You have that working against you. Then you also have viciously contentious political opponents who's supposed to be your colleagues, who at least supposed to be have the same North Star of making your state, your city, your district, whatever, the best that it can be, or your nation the best that it can be. But instead, you have colleagues that seem to be captured by certain radical ideas and committed to opposing and mischaracterizing every good faith effort you make, which causes bills to age, right? Now, again, granted, this particular issue has been kind of caught up in the crossfires, or kind of like the collateral damage, if you will, of whatever was going on with the budget negotiations and things for the past, 7-8 months or something like that, or maybe 18 months. I can't remember all of that. I have to look more at that, but it was too long, was basically the budget situation. But, and again, I'm going to get into that because it's all about perspective here. Carolina Forward, relative to this issue and their commentary, has a glass half empty perspective. My perspective is a glass half full, okay? The way that they're characterizing it, ain't nothing happened, right? What hyperbole is that? Well, I'm reading the public records. Plenty has happened, but we need to move it forward. You know what I mean? So it's all about perspective here. And I think for a representative, you want someone who is not cynical and pessimistic. And again, constantly feeling the need you have to fight, right? Because that's what the Democrat political strategy right now is. That's what they're getting from their operatives, that we got to fight, right? And literally, fight. So, yeah. But verifiable progress has been made on PFAS, and we just need to revive that action, okay? Revive action on the bills need to be the discussion going forward, and any additional good ideas to improve that bill, right? To ensure the health of North Carolinians. That's what I'm about. I don't want to hear what they didn't do, and no. We've gotten to a point on the board. We got a couple scores on the board, so now we just need to revise it, right? We want to talk about progress, reviving the action, and moving the bill forward. And God willing, I plan to be an influence in the assembly to persuade the GOP-led House and Senate to operate again as one band, one sound on this issue and other important issues. And that's as much as I'm able to be influential or seen as influential on this issue. What else did I want to tell you guys about this from my research on this? Some important things, because she mentioned John Hennett, and there was that's the North Carolina GOP chair. But I can give you some details. Let me see. I gave you all my information on my research there. So that's pretty much my position on the PFAS issue, guys. I'm just going to, I'm not reinventing the wheel. I'm just going to revive the actions that are just right now lying dormant, that ended up being collateral damage to the budget discussions. All right. So drop down in my comments and give me some insight, give me some feedback. If you're negative, you shall be blocked. I don't have time for negativity. I'm only interested in problem solving and people who are being intellectually honest in their critiques, okay, of the Republican Party or this particular issue, okay? All right. Thank you for watching. Deuces.